All right. So starting with number 9 today, we have a triangle. And angle A is 51 for this problem. And angle B is 70. And side A, which is straight across from angle A, is 6.1. It says use the law of sines to solve the triangle for the value of B. So you don't have to do the whole triangle like we had to do when we were doing this. I'm just asking for side B, which is this side. Okay, so law of sines says the sine of angle A divided by the length of side A is equal to the sine of angle B divided by the length of side B, which is also equal to the sine of angle C divided by the length of side C. So you might want to put that on your note card so you have it. Okay, so we're just going to solve for side B, we're going to go sine of 51 degrees over 6.1 equals the sine of 70 degrees over B. And then we'll cross multiply and then divide to solve for B. So it's going to be B times the sine of 51 equals 6.1 times the sine of 70. And then I would divide by the sine of 51 to get B by itself. So when we do this, again, make sure your calculator is in degree mode. So I hit my mode button just to make sure I'm still in degree mode. All right, so I'm going to go 6.1 sine 70. Whenever you hit sine and cosine and stuff, it gives you that left parenthesis. Close up the parenthesis divided by sine 51. Close that up. So that's 7.48, or I'm sorry, 7.38, which is our choice of letter D. Okay, so just using law of sines for number 9. And it tells you to use law of sines. So just put that on your note card, that law of sines, so you got it. Remember, the capital letter represents the angle measure, and the small letter, lowercase letter, represents the length of the side. And also remember, and you got the picture there in front of you, so you shouldn't mess that up. You know that angle B is opposite side B, and angle A is opposite side A, and angle C is opposite side C. Any questions? Okay. Number 10 is another use the law of sines problem. Okay. So, again, your triangle doesn't really matter. C is 125. I should make it look like it should, but it doesn't really matter. But I will. I'll make it look like it's supposed to. 125 is an obtuse angle. So, it's bigger than 90. And that was angle C. So I'll make this one C. It's a big angle. Then B and A, it doesn't really matter. I'll just put B here and A up here. So angle B is 40. Side C would be opposite angle C, would be 15. So this one you got to put it in the right spot. Okay? And it says use law of sines to solve the triangle for this value of side A, which would be this side. So the first thing I have to do is get angle A. So how do I get angle A? Add them and subtract from 180. We know that the three angles of a triangle after 180, right? So 125 and 40 is 165. So I'm going to go 180 minus 165 for angle A, which is 15 degrees. So then I can use my law of sines to find side A. I'm going to go sine of 125 over 15, and then sine of 15, angle A, over side A. So we'll do the same thing. A times the sine of 125, doing our cross multiplying, equals 15 times the sine of 15. And then we're going to divide by the sine of 125. Which sine 125. Okay? So 15, sine of 15, close it up, divided by sine 125, close it up. So that's 4.74, which was letter E. Questions? Okay. Number 11 is law of cosines. All right, so law of cosines, I would write that on my note chart. All right, so it's got three ways we can do it. When it's a squared equals, it's b squared plus c squared minus 2 times b times c times the cosine of angle A. And then if you want all three of them, you can just interchange the A's and the B's and the A's and the C's too. This would be, if you start with b squared, it's a squared plus c squared minus 2ac times the cosine of angle B. Where some of us mess up is we forget it's minus 2 there. Sometimes we put plus. And then if it's c squared, it's a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine of angle C. All right, so those are the three ways that the law of cosines could look. So we're given the three sides of the triangle. All right, for number 11. And this was A, and this was C, and this was B in our picture. And it said side A was 9, and side B was 10, and side C was 11. And it said find angle B. So we're looking for that. So we're going to have to start, since we're looking for angle B, we're going to have to start with the B squared one, that middle one. Okay? So B squared is 10 squared. Number straight across from it is equals A squared plus C squared minus 2 times A times C times cosine of B. So I'm going to solve for this capital B. All right? So 10 squared is 100. 9 squared is 81. 11 squared is 121. And then 18. 2 times 9 is 18 times 11. 180 plus another 18. Is that 198? Times cosine of B. All right. Some of you had trouble with this way when we did the quiz. Okay. The next step is just putting these two together. All right. Which is what? 202 Did I add that right? Do not subtract 198 from the 202 because the 198 is being multiplied. So what I have to do is subtract the 202 to the other side. So we get 100 minus 202, which is a negative 102, and then negative 198 times the cosine of b. So with that negative 198 now, I'm going to divide it. So the cosine of b is this decimal that we're going to get. So negative 102 divided by negative 198. All right, so that's 0.51, 0.51. All right, so to get the angle, remember, you have to go inverse cosine of this decimal. So we go second cosine for the inverse, second answer, that negative sign. That'll give us the angle measure. So it's 58.99 degrees, which was letter D for number 11. Okay? So for number 11, you're going to use law of cosines. All right, number 12. Find the third side of the triangle, round answer to the nearest whole number. And it gives us angle A is 100, so it's another obtuse. And I'll just call this angle B and this angle C. All right, so side B was 33, and side C was 23. So you got a side angle side situation, and side is the one we just did. Those are the two situations you use law of cosine. So for number 12, maybe on your little card, write yourself a note and say, use that law of cosine again, because it doesn't tell you which law to use, right? So we're looking for the third side, which would be side A. All right, so we're going to use the one that starts A squared. This one's a little easier when you're looking for a side than the last one. You know, A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2 times B times C, that's a 2, sorry, times the cosine of angle A, which was 100 degrees. So you put all that in your calculator at once when it's doing this. All right, so 33 squared plus 23 squared minus 2 cosine of 100. All right, so you put all that in, and you get 1,881. So, are we finished? No. Okay, and that's not one of your choices, so you should realize you're not done. You got to do what to both sides? Square root, right? So we're going to go second square root, second answer, so I don't have to type it all in. And it gets me 43.3738. I'm not sure what they're going to. Just 43 to the nearest whole number, which was actually letter A also. We're looking for side A, but the answer was letter A. Questions, law of sines or cosines? Okay, so 9, 10, 11, 12. 9 and 10, law of sines, 11 and 12, law of cosines. Okay, 13 is long division. Okay, haven't done that for a while. That's the stuff we've gone over so far has been some of our most recent stuff. All right, so when we do long division for this problem, the part after the division symbol is outside there, and then the other part is underneath. Now remember, when we're doing long division or synthetic, if we have an x to the fourth, an x to the third has to be in there. Do we have an x to the third in our problem? No. So what do we put? You got to put a 0 x to the third in there to hold the spot. Then we have our minus x squared, but we also need an x, and it didn't show up. So we have to add 0x for this one, and then the plus 3. So we had to add 2 zeros for this problem. Now, I don't know if it'll be like that on the actual exam, but just remember, you have to do that for long division, or if you have a synthetic division, like number 14, the synthetic one. You have to add zeros maybe. All right, now, when we do these, remember, all we concentrate on is the first term on the division. So Connor, what's x to the fourth divided by x squared?
X squared.
Yeah. All right, that's all I have to worry about, division part. All right, and I just put the x squared up here. Then I take that x squared and I multiply it by all three of those. And that'll go, that answer will go underneath these three. All right? So x squared times x squared is x to the fourth. X squared times a negative 4x is a negative 4x cubed. So when x cubed showed up, that's why we did that 0x cubed, so things line up. And then x squared times negative 1 is negative x squared. Now remember, at this point, you subtract. Okay? The x to the fourths are going to cancel. That's what you want to happen. Now watch here. You got a 0 minus a negative 4, which ends up being what? Addition, right? So it's a positive 4 x cubed there. I got a negative 1 x squared minus a negative 1 is plus 1. So what's a negative 1 plus 1? That's a 0, right? So let's put 0x squared. And then bring down the next term. Now I start over. All I worry about is the 4x cubed divided by the 1x squared. What is 4x cubed divided by x squared? 4x, right? Okay? Now let's do blue. Okay? So looking at my answers, I can eliminate B and D because they are x squared minus 4x, right? So I just go as far as I need to go. All right, until I got the right choice to pick. All right, so I multiply again. 4x times x squared and get 4x cubed. 4x times negative 4x is a negative 16x squared. And 4x times negative 1 is a negative 4x. And then I subtract again. Sleep. Keep stuck to the screen. All right, so 4x cubes cancel. What's 0 minus a negative 16? Positive 16, right? 0 minus a negative 4 is plus 4x. And then bring down the plus 3. Okay? So then I start over. All I worry about is 16x squared divided by x squared. What's that? 16. And then I'm going to stop. Why? Look at your choices. There's only one that starts out that way, right? The x squared plus 4x plus 16, right? So we're going to choose C. So just go as far as you need to go so you can make your choice. Does that make sense? So we hadn't done that for a while, but we did do that. Number 14 is a lot quicker because synthetic division is a lot quicker, right? All right, so when we do synthetic division, since we're dividing by x minus 4, where do we put in this little corner? It's x minus 4, what goes in the corner? Positive 4, all right? If it was x plus 4, we would have put negative 4 in that little corner, all right? And we have a 5x cubed, so we put 5. We have negative 11x squared, so we put negative 11. We have a negative 38x, so negative 38, and then the plus 8. I didn't have to add any zeros. Okay, we make a line, we leave a little space. We drop the 5, the first one, underneath. Okay, and then I multiply 4 times the 5 and put 20 above the line under the next number. What do I do with the negative 11 and 20? I subtract them or add them? Heard somebody louder. Add them, right? So we're going to add those, which is 9. Then I go 4 times 9 and get 36. And I add those, which is 2. And I go 4 times 2 is 8. Oh, I'm sorry, it was negative 2, you're right. Negative 38 plus 3 is negative 2. So 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So when I add those, I get a remainder of 0. Okay? So remember, this started out as 5x cubed. So this bottom row becomes 1 less, 5x squared plus 9x minus 2, and there's no remainder. So I'm looking for that choice, which was choice B. So those are a lot quicker. Okay. Uh, 15 is also a synthetic division problem. Questions on 14? All right, so for 15, we're supposed to divide by this, okay? So to figure out what goes in your little corner box, set it equal to 0 and solve for x. And that's going to go in the corner, like we put that 4 in the last one. So what's negative 5 divided by negative 2? 2.5. You can put that if you want. I'll just put 5 halves. I'll leave the fraction, but it's positive because it's 2 negatives. And then we put in the negative 6 for the x cubed, 35 for the x squared, negative 56 for the x, and the 15. And the question is that negative 2x plus 5 a factor or not? So what I do is everything the same. Drop down to negative 6. And 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. And negative 30 divided by 2 is negative 15. So when I add those, I get 20. And 5 times 20 is 100. Divided by 2 is 50. When I add those, I get negative 6. And 5 times 6, negative 6, again is, already did that problem, so it's negative 15. And I get 0. So, do I answer yes or no? I answer yes because the remainder is what? 0. If I get any other number but 0, my answer would have been no. Okay? So this is a yes because of the 0. So that would have been A. Okay? Questions? So you got law of signs in this section, law of cosines, a long division, 2 synthetic division. And the last one we'll do for today says find the real zeros by factoring. Okay? We've done a lot of factoring this year. So let's see if we can factor this. We got x to the 4th minus 20x squared plus 64. So remember, we had a little list of things that we had for factoring. And the first thing was always look for a GCF. So if you want to write that down on your thing, you can. But is there a greatest common factor between those 3 terms? No. The second thing we would look for is called a difference of squares, which only had 2 terms. And they were both perfect squares, and it had to be a minus. Well, this has got 3, so it's not one of those. Okay? So it's just a regular trinomial. All right, and my A value is 1, my B is negative 20, my C is 64. So all I'm really worried about, since my A value is 1, are factors of 64. And when your third term is a positive in a trinomial, they're both whatever the B value sign is. So these are going to both be negative. So it's either going to be negative 1 times negative 64, negative 2 times negative 32, negative 4 and negative 16, or negative 8 and negative 8. Any of those add up to negative 20? That one, right? So I'm going to have a minus 4 and a minus 16. Now, normally that's an x squared and that's an x. So we just put x and x there. But this is an x to the 4th, so what do I put in the front of both of them? X squared. All right? Well, those are difference of squares. Those are both perfect squares, and there's a minus between them. So for this one, I'm going to take the square root of x squared, the square root of 4, and 1's plus and minus. And for this one, the square root of x squared is x, the square root of 16 is 4, 1's a plus and 1's a minus. All right? So the zeros are, for this one, negative 2, for this one, positive 2, negative 4, and positive 4. Okay? Now, if you don't want to go through all that, and you just want to substitute in your choices, okay, if you're doing the substitute part, what answer should you be getting when you substitute the numbers in? 0, because you're looking for the zeros, right? So if you don't want to go through the factoring part, and you just want to guess and check on this problem, just plug in the numbers, but you have to get an answer of 0, okay? And the one that matches that was A. Questions? All right, so that's where we're stopping today. Tomorrow, we'll finish this up. And then your exam will be Friday. Thursday, you don't have to come here. Yeah.
One more?
Brooke and Holly have to come Thursday because they missed so much school this year. To make up for all those days. Well, maybe Bars and Ivy come too. What?
No, it's 6 4.
Yeah. I don't know.
Very limited.
I don't know.
We can just
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but we're gonna
It
need
seems like it's just more anchored to is we're out in what our vision is. And it's weird though, because the last two were the only like really bad.
I wanna read that.
Yeah, maybe we got, although I do think as soon as we get there, we'll take pictures.
Gee, send that link into the group chat, I wanna read
It's
that.
in the group chat, look up like, go to like, click the profile. And look up.
In the senior truck one?
Yeah, look at the profile. Scroll down the links.
Can't find it.
Yeah, Maggie there, and Dan is showing up.
So what kind of vote on this?
Check with you on the other right now.
I'm looking at it.
Got
Apparently there's a contract.
Keep it under 5 minutes.
Thanks.
I've endorsed it.
Hey, we're not doing a lot of cooking. Oh, I'm not cooking, I'll tell you that.
I start getting hungry, I don't know, I'm gonna eat.
Yeah, that's tomorrow.
In the oven?
There's a Friday.
Yeah.
You just go who's, here, you have
You don't have a regular day.
For sure.
Yeah, it's not,
For sure, it's all-
you're having exams during the normal period of time, so there'll be some kind of
No, I know, but I thought.
Okay, so it's just 45 minutes.
Yeah, there's always a security. So I'm just saying.
Then what? Next Friday, you gotta show up early and practice, or so, trying to practice, so we
It's
can.
like
we.
No, just take that security.
It's so early.
Well, at least you don't have to be here at 8 instead of all the way down to camp.
But,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. You should take pictures.
I'll wake up at like 7:30. Yeah, 7:45.
So,
I can't.
Me and you, just me and you.
what about, what am I doing?
We're just taking it with them.
I say we run it, right? And like, you don't have to worry about it.
Then maybe next week we'll just do after 11,
Or like,
do like 6.
that's why I kind of, the girl that left the one side of Duke, she's all fine.
Yeah, he's graduating.
Like, it's
Yeah,
beyond
probably got enough credit on him.
Yeah.
What, you get out on the street?
Yeah.
We need that hot tub fixed.
Yeah, she got refunded.
Oh.
We should just get there and say nothing.
What example?